In this class, you're going to learn how to make your free-motion quilting stitches even and beautiful on your home sewing domestic machine, even if you don't have an automatic electronic regulator for your stitch length. Welcome to the Orbital Quilting. I'm Natasha, and right here we have Aline, and today we're going to teach you how to have consistent stitch length even if you don't have any kind of regulator and you're doing free motion quilting, because we don't want our free motion quilting to have very different sizes of stitches, because otherwise we're going to have one that are really small and ones that are really big. We want them to look consistent, and today is the day you're going to learn how to do it. This is the free motion quilting crash course, and in this course we have all the classes for you to go from I never quilted before to some really beautiful quilting designs that you are going to be able to use to finish your own quilts. And the best part is that we have PDF quilt guides. You just go to the link in the description and you have them. Alright, so let's get to the fun part now, that is understanding what happens that creates that inconsistent look on stitch length. When we are free motion quilting, we're not using the capacity of the machine to do the stitch length, right? We are either annulling that, putting the feet docks down or something like that, and we have to move the sandwich in a way that we, with our arms, our skills, our body, are creating the stitch length. So because of that, many beginners have this consistent stitch problem that is sometimes just an aesthetic problem, but if you have a really big difference in your stitch length, that could be even a technical problem for the lifetime of your quilting, because those really big stitches, they get to be fragile. You know, anything can cut them in the middle and then your whole quilt can be undone, which we don't want for sure. That's why this is a very important topic. And to talk about it, we are going to use once more our amazing toilet paper margin, but this time to talk about stitch length, so you can really understand how we're going to fix that on the machine. So let's start talking about really small stitches. I am making them really small so you can see what's happening. And now you can see that those are some teeny tiny stitches, and that is happening primarily because the speed of your machine is too high. So right here we don't talk about changing the quilter speed, because it has to be comfortable to your movement. So we're going to talk about the machine. The machine doesn't care if you're going higher, faster or slower, because the machine is simply going to do its work. But we as people, as humans, it's important for us to have comfortable speed movement to do the free motion. So if you're having way too small stitches, then the speed of your machine is too high. Lower it. If you have some kind of regulation on the speed on the machine, if you don't have, you simply have to press your pedal a little bit less. So don't go all the way down, just go halfway of your pedal, and then you're going to be moving in the same speed as you were before, and you're going to test if that speed is already giving you stitch length in the size you're happy with. If not, just change that. And now you can see that we have a stitch that is bigger than this one, and is yet it is visible, because when you have this way too small kind of stitches, it starts to look like a nest. A weird feeling. You cannot see the stitches, you cannot see the actual stitch, but right here I can see the stitch. It's a beautiful stitch, and this is a good speed for me to go for when I am free-motion quilting. So I'm just going to do some more here, because you know the quilter should not run or go slower than the comfortable speed. The quilter has always to be comfortable, always. This is the most important thing. The machine can adapt to your speed, and that is what should happen. You see many times that quilters are having a hard time with free-motion quilting is most of the times because the machine is too fast for them, and they are trying to accommodate their speed on the machine speed. But that should not be the case. We should not be the ones meeting the speed of the machine. Is the other way around. I'm not even pulling this bobbin thread here at the end because I just want you to see those stitches right here in comparison to how they start. Let me show you this closer. Look how tiny those were and how they're beautiful now. And my speed is the same. And why it's so important that you keep your movement as natural as possible in the speed that is comfortable for you. Because quilting is movement. It's your movement that is going to create the designs, the stitches, everything that we're going to quilt. So if you're not comfortable, big chances are that the quilting is not going to be as beautiful as you wish or as they could be. So this is really, really important that you always remember. You are the goddess of your quiltdom. It means that everything around you, the machine, the materials, the tools, every single thing has to serve you because you're the goddess. If you're okay, then you are able to move on and to learn and to improve your free-motion quilting. That is very, very, very important to the speed you're moving. Because if you're moving frenetically, then you are going to come into a despair sensation state for your brain, and you don't want that because this will not bring you good results or a happy process. So when we're talking about stitch length, we are primarily talking about speed. That is what's going to give you the trick to have consistency and to have beautiful stitches. It is speed, but not yours. You are always going to be in a comfortable speed. Your body is going to move in the same speed. That is one way of dealing with stitch length, and this is the best way for beginners, okay? So what is going to happen then if you have your free motion stitch length too small? How are you going to solve this? Let's say this is your stitches. They are really, really too small. So how are you going to solve this? You're going to lower the machine speed. All right, so this is how you're going to solve too small stitches. And now it's time to see the other way around. All right, now we're going to produce those really big stitches, and that is going to happen like this. I am moving faster than the machine. Now let me show you this. Now our stitches are so big. Look at this. They're simply absolutely giant. And that, as I said, can lead to problems. It becomes a fragile quilt because anything can destroy some stitch. So how are you going to fix this? Again, talking about the machines, this is happening because the machine is too slow. So we're going to increase the speed of the machine, and I'm going to keep my speed the same. So increase just a little bit, and I can see, oh, it's already not enough. Now let me go again. Now this is much better. See? But still a little bit too big. So I'm going to increase the speed a little bit more. You will even learn the speed you like to quilt, that you're comfortable, that you know it's a match between your speed and the machine speed because of the sound of the machine. See, now we have a beautiful stitches, and once more let me show you this up close. So we have those really big stitches at the beginning, and then we move on to those stitches. Now you can see that it's pretty simple to solve big stitches, right? Because if I have the stitch length way too big, what I need to do is to increase the machine's speed. And that, my friend, is one way for you to deal with and create consistent stitch length for your free motion quilting. It's not the only way, but it's the best way for beginners to go to, because then you put yourself in the place you are meant to be, that is the goddess place, and then the machine will serve you, and you're going to adjust the speed on the machine, not yours. Always, 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 always find your comfortable speed, and that is going to absolutely lead you to the most beautiful quilting ever. And now remember, we have PDF quilt guides for this whole series. Now don't think this is over. Now we have a very, very golden tip, very amazing, something that, as I said previously, you're here to make your stitches beautiful, and the consistent length is one part of this equation. There is another, that is, pay attention to this quilting, and maybe you're seeing that at the point you have an extra number of knots. It creates a bulk, and this is not something we want to see in our quilting, not just because this is not too beautiful, but also because it is a fragile point, because you have a lot of knots coming out and becoming like a mountain there. So anything that happens there is, you know, some clip, a thread for some accident, maybe a cat's claw that they absolutely love quilting, so they are so good quilting destroyers in that sense. To avoid this, we don't want those books on the tips, on the corners of what we're quilting. So let's fix this right now. Now I'm going to create those books so you can see what most of the times happens. So you're here quilting, and then you stop a little bit at the corners. I'm stopping maybe a little bit more, but I really want this to be visible on the camera. That's so common for beginners to do. They simply let the machine there for quite a bit of time, creating those knots right here at the corners. So this is a fragile point for your quilting, because anything here can undo the stitch and then start to unstitch everything. And that is happening because of the time, because of the way you move. So of course, as I've been saying so far, you have to be comfortable, but always you have to be conscious and aware of the way you move. This is crucial to improve in free motion. So what's happening here? You're quilting, and then instead of just going like a, I don't know, let's say a ping pong ball, you go and you stop, and then you go and you stop for a little. This is many times imperceptible for beginners, but that definitely happens. So you don't want to go to the corner and hang there. You want to go to the corner and rapidly get out of it, because this is going to actually make your the way I'm doing now. This is what makes your movement consistent as well, because you're moving, let's say, just an example, at 10 miles an hour to quilt this, just a number, so you can have something to talk about. So it's 10 miles going down and up and down and up, and you don't stop. There's no stops here. And of course, if you want to stop, then you have to stop hand and foot and pedal at the same time. Then you have a pit stop, and that's okay. That's not a problem. That is expected and good to have. So that is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you stop the hand, but you continue with the foot. So the hand stopped, but the foot, meaning the machine, is still working. So you create this stop that should not be there, especially because it's just half stop, you know. When you stop the full body, that's okay. But when you stop just half of it, that's not okay, because then you're going to have these bolts, because now I stopped the hand, but my feet didn't. Now I stopped the hand and the feet didn't. So what's happening here is that I was going 10 miles up, but then I stopped my arm movement, then 10 miles down, and then I stopped. You see? So I create these really big bulks here. And not only that, this many times, those are not that visible, because maybe you don't get too much time stopped there to create these giant bulks, so maybe they're not that visible. But many times quilters also have thread breakage after corners, because this amount of knots here can create those as well. You see, it's not always, you can see my threads not breaking by doing this, but that can happen, so it's not unusual. Now I'm going consistency, 10 miles down, 10 miles up, 10 miles down, and when I stop my whole body, because quilting is all about your body. So 10 down, 10 up, 10 down. Now this is the consistency of how I move, is always going to create the consistency of your corners, of your beautiful quilting stitch, that is not just relying on the quilting length, but also on this knot-free corners. Let me show them close to you. Here you have the knots, and here you don't. You can clearly see the difference. Look at those knots here and without them. So we don't want them, both in terms of lifetime of your quilt and safety of your quilting stitches. Also because of the beautiful quilts that we have, beautiful stitches that we have without the knots. Now you have really good information to, if there was a quilting prom, now your quilting stitches are ready to be queen of the prom. Oh dear. And now you're ready to have beautiful quilting stitches, both in terms of length and free of knots. And I'll see you on the flip side.